Cheers, love. Welcome to Wellness and Watercolors. So glad you are here with me today. Grab your cup of coffee, your paints, your palette, and I'm just journaling today. I'm taking like a 5x7 piece of watercolor cold pressed paper. I'm using Crayola watercolors, getting real fancy here. I love the freedom to pick any kind of watercolor paint, meaning you don't always have to go and spend so much money to get started in watercolors, or even if you've been at this for a while like myself, I love to just break out some of the more inexpensive paints. It helps me to relax and feel kind of more at ease when I paint using like the more inexpensive, like I don't know, I have freedom not to waste it. It's something I'm working on, to be painting more free with more paint. And I don't know, when I mix things up, you guys, it just enhances that creativity. And so you could see by the introduction clip there that we are painting a scene from a foggy area with an interesting volcanic rock sticking out of the ocean there. If you've never gotten a chance to go, highly recommend it. It is Morro Bay, California. A lot of beauty there, and a lot of wellness lessons that I learned there, that if you're interested in the intersection of art and wellness, I have another video coming out soon, or may already be out depending on when you watch this. If you're interested in how I tie nature to wellness, I highly recommend you check it out. And so to kind of catch you up on technique just now, what I first did was showed you laying down some water to dampen the paper. And sometimes it takes a bit understanding how much water. It takes practice, it takes research, and trial and error. So a lot of 5x7 paper can be really helpful in not setting out to high expectations of a masterpiece. You know, practice really can show you, like, just give yourself the freedom to practice. I guess that's what I'm saying. And so we laid down some water and then let it breathe for a minute, you know, maybe like 30 seconds before laying down your first wash of some blue. And then you might notice, like, I took some paper towel and dabbed it there. That's a cool and easy, fun way to start creating clouds. I then mixed some blue with some black to create like a bluish gray sky. And now you're seeing me adding purple because I'm about to draw a line kind of down around the horizon line to, I don't know, just kind of keep it interesting. As I studied my reference photo that I took while I was there, it just looked like the gray around the horizon had a touch of purple in it. And when I first started watercolors or any kind of painting, I just saw color kind of like, oh, that's red, oh, that's blue. And then the more I dived into this journey, man, I remember one day walking out of my house, and it kind of reminded me of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, when she opens the door for the first time and sees all that color and all that beauty. It's like I saw the world so different, and I still do, I believe, because of art. But one of the first things that really jumped out at me was noticing color in a whole different way. And I promise you, the more you practice and study, the more you're going to see the pinks and the yellows and the hidden oranges in different colors. And that's really gonna add to the end result of your paintings. And so now I'm just building slowly and with patience. Sorry for the glare there that's going on right now. I am a work in progress. I am not perfect. And this is actually my first video I have filmed of me painting for this channel. So not too bad. I hope it's not too annoying. But I'm just working in some layers here. And another tip is letting areas dry before adding more and more layers to it. And then at the same time, you might see me while it's still wet, like I think where I'm headed now. Yep. I am doing the opposite of what I just said to you. So while it's still wet, I am adding in some more color to bring it to more life, to give it some more dimension. So that's what we have going on there. And at this point, I think you're going to hear my background noise turn off, and I hope to keep you interested and feeling chill and calm. I'm going to introduce hopefully some jazz music here if I can figure it out, so you're not constantly listening to my dehumidifier in the background there. Some people find it relaxing though. I know for me it kind of reminds me of that ambient noise that, if you haven't heard of it, it can be a nice way to bring some wellness to your life when you want to calm your nervous system, or you have that internal noise that's really loud, or just carrying a lot of tension. Listening to ambient sound can be really grounding and kind of help you reset. And then we have a nice little break, coffee break. So if you've been painting along with me and you're feeling frustrated, grab yourself a cup of coffee, maybe take a deep breath. Remember, it's all about practice and, having some fun. And when it starts to not be fun, I know for me, I have a hard time letting go. So I sometimes try to push through it. But sometimes it's a call to just kind of take a break, walk around, stretch. So now it looks like I am moving on to painting the boats. So I'm not sure what I'm using there at the moment. I'm imagining a safe bet with boats in the distance, or even like how they are small right now. I am probably using a combination of the black on in the Crayola and mixing that a little bit with some blue probably. You can go bolder, depending on the piece you want. I'm choosing a little more muted, subtle colors for my boats. I just don't want them to be the centerpiece or to be making the statement. The statement today for me is the fog. And so, I think of art as emotion. I know somebody said a really cool quote about it somewhere. Of course, I can't think of it now, but remembering kind of like your why. Like, what is it about this painting for you that you want to pronounce? What's the message you want to send, or the miracle you want to remind somebody of? And for me, this piece, it's going to be about the fog. the fog, and how, for me, when I saw the fog in Morro Bay, man, it reminded me of the heaviness of mood, and how I, you know, I don't look forward to days when I wake up in a low mood. And when I was in Morro Bay and I saw that fog, it was like calling out to me, trying to teach me a lesson, and not to sound weird or anything, but I do believe that there are lessons all around us, and lessons from nature. And when we open ourselves up to listening more or looking for the lesson, I think it just reminds me part of why we're here. We're here to learn. And nature, just sometimes in our busy days, I know I do, I take it for granted. And so that's part of, for this channel, is I love to illuminate the gifts that nature has to offer us. And so, long story short, today it's about the fog for me, and the beauty of the fog, and a heavy, low mood can teach us about the contrasts in life. If we were around sunny skies all day, or if we were feeling sunny all the time, I don't know if we would always know the things that we really appreciate and love. And sometimes those heavier times make us remember what it is that we wish we could do when we're feeling better. And I think when I did the green there just now, I was holding my breath. So drawing that line across there, it's like if you catch yourself holding your breath doing your art, just gentle reminder again, like this is supposed to be for fun. It's not life or death, but talking into a camera, having a camera watch me, it's interesting what the nervous system can do and how it can make you think and feel. And I feel like too, we're always susceptible to chasing perfection. I don't know, for me, it's almost like an easier habit than it is to just lean into the feeling of being good enough. And so that's just another lesson that's kind of crossing my mind at the moment. So now I'm just taking the brush and making some intentional back and forth strokes there to bring in some reflection of the rock. And it looks like I am adding some water on top of it. Either that or it's that glare again. So, I see now. This is where I was adding in some light gray to the area, kind of mapping out the water around the boat there. Now we're putting some accents on the boat. And I will look to add the size brushes I'm using. Another tip here would be to not to generalize, but to start somewhere. If you're new to watercolors, or you find yourself frustrated, sometimes the rhythm or the order of brushes can be starting out with a big brush, and then as your painting progresses, moving more and more into smaller brushes. If it's just not doing what it is you want it to do, a lot of times it's the material or the brush. It's not you. I think we a lot of times go right to, there's something wrong with me. Like, I can't do this. I'm not an artist. We say these things. But, we are all artists. We are born to create. And sometimes it's, okay, I got to learn more technique. I got to study more, either books or videos, to see what I might be missing. And sometimes it's practice, practicing getting used to holding a paintbrush and how to use it and how much water to use. And I think as I progress in these videos, my background in developing trainings for people, I think that will help me to make these videos even better. Because I know when I first started out, I'd be like, why don't you tell me which brush and when and want all those specifics. And so I'll look to get better with that as we move along on this journey. So now I'm going back over a dry, so I let that reflection dry, and now I'm going back over it again, with some of the same color there. And right by that green border, I'm choosing to make it a little bit darker, just to give it some personality, some edge there. And then gradually making it lighter as it comes to the foreground. That's what I'm doing there. That's probably the opposite of what they teach in art books. Making your foreground more pronounced and darker, which you'll see later in the video, where my fingers are holding the paper down. I'm going to add some green foliage there, and that will be pretty pronounced, so that, as you're looking at the horizon line, I have faded, it's like not like a bright purple, but more subtle, to create some depth to the painting. But then by the green, that green line there, I made it a little bit darker in that reflection, and then lighter as it moves out. And primarily, if you think of reflections like close to a boat, it's a lot darker, and then it becomes lighter the further away you get from the boat. And now, again, I'm probably holding my breath here, added some yellow and green to the right side of the horizon. And now we're working on the pier. So layering approach here, making underneath the pier a lot darker, adding some straight black in there, which again, I'm sure there are professionals out there probably cringing at me using just straight black, but I don't know, I like using Crayola just because, and I like using black just because, breaking some of the rules. I think some of the professionals out there would say you want your black to be with a different color underneath it first, and that's true. Like, that can definitely bring dimension, and they know what they're talking about at the same time. I guess my point being, it can be fun. That's the emphasis here, having fun. It can be fun to break some of the rules or the limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves, that society does, that we do to ourselves. So I like making these small little choices to remember that for myself. Okay, so now we had let that first coat dry. Now we're having some fun here. we're kicking it up a notch, and I'm adding some of that blue mixture on top, and it's still like a bluish gray. That's the vibe we're going for. The water along the Pacific Coast Highway, oh man, beautiful. Like all different kinds of colors out there along that ocean in the Pacific, turquoise and teals and ultramarine blues. And here in Morro Bay, it was more grayish tones with blues and purples. Still beautiful, just it was sending a different message, you know, just as important, just as beautiful. And here we're giving some edge to that rock, so I am putting in some darker contrasts at the bottom there along the rock. And sepia, that's another thing I'm not good at, is pronunciations, you know, just not. Anyway, sepia, it is a brownish color you can buy at your local art store or on Amazon. And it is a dark brown color. Now, I have that, but I'm choosing to, I guess, what am I choosing to do? I am choosing to build upon my color mixing abilities. And so for a sepia brown, I'm using the brown you see in the Crayola tray that I just conveniently cropped out somehow, but you saw it earlier. I'm mixing that with black, and that's giving me that color that's close to sepia, which is probably sepia because I keep saying the word. Okay, now we are adding it some more layers. So I'd say that's another tip for beginner watercolorists that I have found, is starting out really light and knowing that you're going to do at least 2, 3, maybe 4 layers. That it is a medium that encourages patience, I believe. A slow burn, a slow build. Versus acrylics, which you'll see in some of my other videos. I find them to be a lot more forgiving. So you can paint over your mistakes. Watercolor, not so much. Not so much, but there are some ways to save it as well. So when I first started out, I thought that once you put the color down for watercolor, that was it. But you can actually dip your brush into water, making sure there's no paint on it, and putting water over your mistake, and then dabbing it with a cotton ball or a paper towel can lift it up and out, kind of like I did for the clouds. So there are ways to keep moving, and sometimes those mistakes turn out even better. Sorry for the camera going in and out there. And it looks like the order of my editing, that I had already gone over this area to create the fog. And what I'm using here, people would probably recommend gouache, acrylic paint, and really watered down there, kind of creating like a glaze. And putting that over over the rock to create a fog. And it looks like I added a little bit too much water, so not all is lost. The beauty of a paper towel, you can dab it to save it. And then I'm adding in some more of that titanium white there to create the fog. Something to play with, play around with. Meaning you don't necessarily just put it down in one. Oh yeah, there it is, perfect. Sometimes it takes several layers. And now we're introducing the pen, I believe. Yep, taking the pen to the boats to give it a little bit more detail. You can use a really small brush, but I have found that it doesn't quite give me the sharp detail that I'm wanting. And so adding in some pen can do that. So we're just kind of outlining each one of those. And I'm trying to do less on the boat all the way in the back there. Less markings. Because our eye, will see the details of things up close more so than in the distance. That's my reasoning. And there you have it, you guys. This is Morro Bay and the lessons and blessings of the fog. Such a beautiful area. Highly, highly recommend. People, the food, the vibes. If you like to hike, I talk more about hiking in the area in one of my other videos. And the hiking there is super fun. You can take the family or your best friend. There's a hike for everyone out there, no matter what your level is. And there we have the rock in the distance. We have the beautiful mountains of California and the Pacific Ocean. I hope you enjoyed your time with me today. I hope that this little video inspired you in big ways. And if you got some value out of this today, I'd love for you to follow along on this journey with me. Please like and click that subscribe button. That would really make my day. May you find peace and joy in your day today. Thanks again for being here. Take care.